Hi, I'm Jim Cohn, Professor of Psychology and Director of the Virginia Affective Neuroscience Laboratory at the University of Virginia. I think of human beings as the cheetahs of self-regulation. You know, cheetahs can run faster than any other animal on Earth. They're absolutely the fastest animal. But they can only do it for short bursts, after which they're totally exhausted and they have to recharge. Humans are similar in their ability to regulate their self, to be reliant on their self. When I say self-regulation, I mean if you're at a scary movie and you're starting to get overwhelmed by how scary the movie is, you can tell yourself it's only a movie. You know, that's only ketchup, it's not blood, or whatever it is. But just like cheetahs get exhausted when they run at top speed, humans get exhausted when they have to regulate themselves for too long. We talk about things like meditation, you know, learning to calm yourself, cognitive behavioral therapy. All of these things are about self-regulation. But we have all these parts in our brain that allow us to be soothed more rapidly and more effectively than any of those other strategies. We brought in 16 married couples. We put the wives in the scanner. They were shown, while they were in the scanner, either a red X, they came up like the red X on the screen on a black background, or a blue circle. And when that red X and blue circle came up, the blue circle indicated they were completely safe. If the red X came up, that indicated they had a 20% chance of being shocked on their ankle. A little, you know, mildly painful electric shock on their ankle. For a period of time during those red X's and blue circles, which came up over and over and over again, they were either alone, or they were holding their partner's hand, or they were holding a stranger's hand. And one of the things that we expected to find was that there was a sort of decrease in threat-related responding in the brain as a function of holding hands and whose hand you were holding. So right away we know that the difference between a stranger and a partner is important. What really surprised us, and we think is really important, is that the quality of a person's relationship matters a lot for how strongly you respond to the threat cues that we gave people that said they might get an electric shock. Couples who were very, very happy received the most benefit from handling as far as threat responding in the brain is concerned. This was particularly apparent in a part of the brain called the hypothalamus that's extremely important to our health and well-being. The hypothalamus is the part of the brain that, when it's responding to threat, is responsible for the release of stress hormones into our body. Those stress hormones are very useful when we're under real danger, but if it's chronic, then what they do is they deprive our body of the ability to repair wounds, to grow hair, regular maintenance of our bodies. I read an article by a woman who had read the study and found herself on an airplane. She was terrified of flying. And she was working on this article about the study, and she's coming in for a landing. She's particularly terrified of landing. And she's talking to the person next to her, and they'd been talking about the study that she's working on. And they sort of looked at each other nervously and thought, should we hold hands? People very often ask me, what do we do with this kind of information? And I think it's a very good question, because we want, I'm interested in the science that I do to be translatable into people's daily lives as much as possible. And the thing that we're so interested in our lab, that we're putting so much effort into, is mapping out step by step what the mechanisms are, so that we can open up this area of research to so many different types of researchers. So I guess if there's a take-home message, it's really, if you're stressed or anxious, make use of your close relationships. Reach out and grab a hand. You know, it might have a stronger effect than you realize.